Hey man, how's it going?
Howdy doody. I don't know. It's October now. There's like
Yeah,
ghosts in the air, slightly cold. I'm still in
yeah,
shorts and a t-shirt today when I went and got my pizza for dinner, but so we'll see how it goes.
indeed. Yes, it has been quite cold and everything recently, right? But
Oh, I am loving these
October's
sleeps at
I'm
night.
I'm sleeping very well
Oh,
recently.
me too.
It's
Oh
been
yeah.
very good.
These lovely cold
Um,
nights have been just like
yeah, it's been great. It's been
waking
great.
up's tough though. Waking's tough because you're like my bed is so
Yeah,
nice and warm and outside air
yeah.
is just like
And it's dark, so it's a little harder at least it's harder to wake up for me because I'm getting up earlier. But in any
yeah,
case,
yeah.
one of those things.
I hated waking up in the dark, going home from work in the
Yeah,
dark. It was those are the worst times.
sure. Well, welcome back everybody to Bite My Shiny Metal Cast, where we talk about Futurama and yeah, all the good, all the bad, all the ugly of the show, and especially recently, Mitchell and I have
Small
been
good.
covering. Yeah, Mitchell and I have been covering the new season that has just
He
passed, and we
hesitates
had
because he doesn't want to call it
yeah,
season
I
12
don't.
or season
It's
9 because it's been
yeah.
altered so many times. Truthfully,
In our
it's
heads,
season 9.
it's so strange. It should be one complete season. It
Oh,
is
right.
season nine
Yes.
as it states. It should be, but it should have been the complete season of the 20 episodes.
8.
But
Yeah, season 8 should
whatever.
have 20 episodes instead of
Yeah.
doing season 8's 10 episodes or season
Yeah.
11 is 10 episodes and then season 9 or 12 is 10. They should have just been one season together. And
Mhm.
because what was it? The Comedy Central run, they
Was
did this
26
thing.
and 26, but they split it
Yes.
in half.
Yeah, 13 and
13,
13.
13, 13, 13.
Yeah.
And that was fine. Honestly fine. And yeah,
I,
26
I, I wasn't
episode
happy.
seasons is fine. But yeah, a 20 episode season is great, but yeah, having them split into two separate seasons being 10, it's not anything major. It's just kind of
No, I
annoying
hate it.
because it's like I
I
don't know
hate it.
what sure, but I don't know what type of I don't know what to call it. So I say season because that's technically what it is. That's what people are calling it. That's what it's written as. So, if anybody does enjoy listening to us and wants to hear more, just please, yeah, like and subscribe.
Thank you,
Yeah,
viewers, for your viewership. It actually
absolutely,
does mean a lot to us.
absolutely. So we've talked about this season, and you know what? The last several months back, you and I did a review about. Again, I was going to call it the first part because I think I actually call it part A, but we'll call it season 8, I guess, right? The
Yeah.
first time the Hulu came back, the Hulu revival. You and I sat down and we watched it. Then a few months later, we reviewed that whole thing as a whole. And honestly, we're not very happy with how Hulu has presented Futurama, at least in that
No,
portion. That's
I don't think
been
I'd
a
give him
big
much of a.
letdown.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I
if I
don't
was a
care much
teacher,
for
I'd be
that
like,
season.
this is a D at best
At
overall.
best, easily. Yeah, it's barely passable, and that's
Yeah,
only because there are some really good
yeah,
things.
you made a
I
couple
for
good
sure,
statements, but you didn't
yeah,
explain them well.
yeah. Like I for sure do not enjoy a few of those episodes, in particular a couple. But this season, because we had the open question, like, did it get better? I think it did. I feel like this season there's
Yeah,
more things. It's
slightly,
not. Yeah,
slightly.
it's slightly. Like, what would you
A
say? A
D
C minus,
plus.
a C. A D plus, really? That just that much better? But we had the temp,
Well, it's
which is
Disney,
probably one
right?
of the
So
best
D
episodes of
plus.
the season.
Oh, made a joke. Ugh, even though it's Hulu, but still
What did you say?
D plus, like Disney Plus.
Oh, but it's Hulu. Okay, gotcha.
which
Well
is
done,
which is
Mitchell.
which is which is owned by Disney. Hulu is just kind of like
They
I
can
don't
play their
even
other
know.
they can play their other stuff on that that's
Yeah,
not
they're
the
non
family
they're
friendly or whatever.
non family friendly stuff.
Sure.
But I don't know. Yeah, definitely C
Mm,
minus would probably be
yeah.
the good average rating for these. I would say.
Yes. And we like anybody can check these out on YouTube because we've done one by one of like a very short review that's about 20 to 30 minutes long. But yeah, today we just wanted to go through the season as itself and just kind of go through what because we've had some time to kind of ponder on it if we thought about them and we can say like okay, do we still hold up to what we talked about before and
Oh
has
yeah.
anything changed with time because now we know the whole season. We can look back at all 10 and see like okay, was there a plan here or was there supposed to be a plan here? Was there any kind of follow through of anything? And yeah, we can get right into that. Yeah, anything to say before we move on?
How many of the predictions that we did out of the 10 episodes were better than what we got?
How many
At
of our
least two.
predictions
At
were
least
better
two.
than
Yeah.
what we got?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
okay, so
our
we
idea for
had
the temp was better, but not that the temp was bad by any means. It just
yeah,
ours was better,
I think there
and
was
then
just
cuteness overlord, ours
yes,
was
or
way
overload.
way
Yeah,
way better.
right. You know what? I would say so if you're not including the episodes where we also had that
Guy
thing that
who
you had found
person who leaked,
online
yeah, person
that
who
had the
leaked the
prescript, yeah,
synopsises and stuff.
right. Like he clearly had inside information because he predicted everything
Oh
like
yeah,
perfectly.
everything was 100% what he said.
Yeah.
Oh, the quiz game, that's gonna be about Fry's
Yeah.
childhood birthday. Like, what kind
Yeah.
of prediction
Not
is
even
that? Oh,
childhood
it came
birthday, like
true.
eighth birthday.
Yeah,
Like he
it
got
was
the eighth,
particular.
right?
Yeah,
It's so specific. So that's how we knew for sure it was his. But any case, yeah, I would say that Overload, right? Cuteness one. I mean, that episode, that our prediction of that was awesome. If they ever did
Oh,
that in the future, like
we'll mention it
that
too
is
when
given
we
to
get to
them.
that episode. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more. With the temp, yes, I think the temp, like if we had like the more Igner professor family dynamic thing, because they've never touched upon it again since that
No,
time. I think
no,
that
there's
was just
been
something
what?
you and I have been wanting for a while. I think that would have been
Four
fine.
seasons, 5 seasons, 6 if you include this one. Part A,
And that's
part one, part two.
and that's not even counting the years, because that episode came out back in what 2000, or sorry, that movie came out what 2008, 2009,
It
something like
would have
that.
been 10, I think. Or hold on. 9,
I think
2009, yeah. Well,
2009. So like,
Bender's Game was April 26,
yeah.
2009,
So like
according to
it's
Wikipedia.
been, yeah, it's been
15
like, yeah,
years?
15 years. So like, yeah, we want something to do with that. That's what we talked about. That's why we wanted that. But the temp in itself was actually not a bad episode. So we'll talk about it then. So
Yeah.
overall, I say that our predictions, obviously because they're in our heads and they're our predictions, they're better.
Obviously, yes.
But
Even what was our probably most stupid one that we did? It's been a while since I've watched it, but I know you were fixated on Amy for like 4 of these episodes. I remember that.
it's because
you were
all
right
these
about
names. I was. All these names had something to do with something like, so. Okay, I mean, we'll get into it. Like Beauty and the Bug, for example, right? Because you and I kept on going back and forth.
I think.
And one of those things is Kif, because Kif turns into the J Hook Fly in his like final form, and of course Kif is always related to either Brannigan or Amy. And
Amy, yeah.
Normally
and also
with
that
Amy,
one Bugalow episode too, where he became a wrangler, right? Too.
Right, right. That was the Oh, was that? That's
Beauty and the Bug as well.
That is Beauty and the Bug. Yeah, so that is Beauty and the Bug, and it turns out that Amy was in it anyway. That was part of her episode anyway. It was more Bender, but yeah. So
partially in it. But yeah, okay. So
yeah.
Sorry, episode 1, the One Amigo.
Yes,
I think both you and I were disappointed by it because it just was weird.
So the main issue about this is like, so first of all, outdated references with NFTs. That was really
right. Yes,
that was really annoying.
I did actually like those NFTs, and I would love to have just like a poster of them. But that would like that. The thing is, I don't even know if I put that poster up on my wall. It's just I would like to have a poster of those, just because they're funny, and it's just a fun little Futurama thing, right? Here's a picture of all the different Benders.
Yeah, it's a reference to all of the Benders of the series, and that's great.
From all the better episodes.
They have no meaning to anything outside of like, oh, it's a Bender NFT, right?
Yeah.
And even it's just so silly. And then of course, Bender goes on like
plot too, yeah.
Right.
Because again, you and I have both talked to each other before this. We're like, we didn't watch any of this since the end of the show. We should have. Yeah, we should have. But let's just get into it. It's like, okay, let's start.
We can honestly, this is a good litmus test to see if like how much can we actually remember from this, because we can. I could go for years.
It's been 2 weeks.
I can always
since we
remember.
The last episode, yeah.
What's that?
It's been 2 weeks since we watched the last episode. Otherwise,
that's right. Yeah, it's been 2 weeks, and so I can honestly, but I can go years, and I don't have to see the Deep South, but I can remember everything about the Deep South, the episode.
To be fair, that is your favorite episode.
What is one of my favorite episodes? But I can even one of my less favorite episodes, like if we talk about the one with the space bees and with honey,
which
with
one?
The honey and
the sting,
the sting with Fry and Leela's thing going on with that. I won't.
That's also
we'll get to the episode when we get to the episode.
So if I was to go
really
to
like it,
Absolutely Fabulous, what's that one about?
Absolutely Fabulous. Isn't that when Bender goes under like that treatment to like change his to upgrade himself, and he thinks that he has to go to then he goes to that island with all the other robots and the Betamax robot.
Yeah. Like boom, there we go. You kind of forgot about it, but as soon as you talk to yourself, you're like, oh yeah, that one. Yeah. If I was to go like, you remember? Oh, that one. I guess the Planet Espresso would be espresso. Sorry, not espresso. Espresso. Yes, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's a coffee one. The coffee. And like, one. What happened to that one? Something about Hermes.
Hermes. Something to do with Hermes. And that was only because that one's so much more recent, right? Like I'm honestly still forgetting a few of these, and I think that speaks to it. I think
Quinn's NFTs until you brought it up. I was like, oh right, there was NFTs.
I was just saying, the One Amigo is one of those things. So the One Amigo does have funny bits. And as you've mentioned, Mitchell, and what I've mentioned as well, is that like the running theme of this season is very much they don't have very good endings, and this is the beginning
pattern.
of it. Like,
I'll call it a pattern, because a theme is intentional. A pattern is most likely not. It's our theme that we talked about, and I love that we use that, because like I remember you sent me a text. What do you mean by themes? I'm like, well, look at it. Like that's what is happening. But pattern, I think, is the proper way to diagnose it, because it's just every episode kind of like, oh, hey, that big question that we just gave you like 30 seconds ago? There's no answer. Bye. Enjoy the episode. Buy our stuff.
Oh, what are these, like in the One Amigo? Like, oh, we have like these gods of this area of like, oh, what was it? Like, it was actually pretty clever. It's like the Aztec Empire, but it's not the Aztec. It's something to do with robot things. But in any case, it doesn't matter for the situation. But like
things that's binary or something like that.
Yeah, it's like the binary empire, whatever it was. And then like, and he pushes him down because they're gonna sacrifice him. And then it turns out that that one thing that was given to you beforehand turns out to be the one thing we need. But then he runs away from them, and they're like, okay, we can't chase him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so like anticlimactic, and you're just like, really? That was it? So yeah, that was kind
one of my biggest things about it, and this is more off screen and stuff like that, is all stuff behind it, right? Bender is technically Mexican, but what makes a robot a thing that is made in Mexico Mexican? Because it's the same thing. If you look at all his family, all the voice actors and everything were all Spanish or Latino or whatever the proper word here is.
Latin American of some sort, right?
Latin Hispanic American of some sort. Like Hispanic. I think that's what I was looking for. Hispanic of some sort, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Bender's played by John DiMaggio, and I love that. There's no one else in the world that would play Bender other than John DiMaggio. And there's a whole thing behind the scenes too of like, why isn't he playing the robot cop? What's his name?
Earl.
URL. Yeah. That guy got replaced by Kevin Michael Richardson. That's his name, right? Love the guy. Great voice actor.
Wonderful.
He's been there since our childhood, right? Danny Phantom. He was in that. Awesome. And
he pops up in real life shows too once in a while.
Oh yeah. He was in an episode of How I Met Your Mother. I love him. And it just bothers me that that's the case and stuff like that. But that's just me and stuff like that. But just it feels weird when they put these rules like, oh, a white person can't do that, but no worries, anyone else can do this. It's like, well, that seems unfair.
And I think that's what we talked about at the time, right? Was that if Bender had not been played by John DiMaggio, obviously, because that is the voice, right? That he's like the staple of the show, other than like maybe Fry and Leela, right? Yeah, but if John DiMaggio was like, oh, you're recasting my character because he says he's Mexican, and then I'm not allowed to be him because that would mean I'd have to put on an accent, which means, or that I'm not Mexican, therefore I'm not allowed to play this character. He would have walked away, and then the show would not have got as much viewership as before, right? Or people would have noticed that it had been very different, and it's very different when we hear, even though Earl can have like that deep, like, hey there, like all that kind of thing, like that's one thing. Oh baby, like that's one thing. But then like Leo Wong is clearly different.
Yes, Leo Wong is incredibly different. I think you and I agree that is the biggest.
That's probably the most jarring voice change I've ever heard in the show, and it sucks because like Billy West was so good with that character because it made him sound evil but also hilarious. Leo Wong now doesn't sound funny. He just sounds like Asian, like Chinese. Like, is that what you really wanted? Like, I don't know.
It's not degrading point. As well as like self-gratifying for the people. Like, it's better that we take.
Like
the white person put in the non-white person. Like it feels like you're like, you need my help because I know what's better. So we'll stop the bad white person, and here you go, person of color. It feels demeaning.
It is demeaning. It's insulting as well, I'm sure.
There we go.
It's a hand-me-down role.
A forced hand-me-down.
And it's not, unless of course, like we say all of this because we don't know any real reason as to why this happened in the first place. But like this is our thoughts on this because this is what's happened in Hollywood before, and it's been stated so. Billy West has not come out and said this has happened. It could also be because, as I mentioned throughout most of this season, Billy West's voice has really taken a turn for the worst, and maybe he couldn't do Leo Wong as well, right? That was my other thing, because his Zach Brown again also wasn't very good for a lot of the episodes.
Until the later episodes.
Until later episodes.
And I think we discussed that he did have COVID, which he was recovering from. He had long COVID.
Right.
So that's why his voice, because you did even say yourself in the thing, it sounds more like Fry. It sounds more like Zap.
Especially in the second last episode with like the Tintin episode, I think he sounds almost just like the Comedy Central run Fry. It was really good. But,
to me, that's a little more forgivable because he was sick or whatever. And I can understand the artistry of it is not the same. I agree. But voice work is not, and like dude's like 73 or something. Right? Yeah. Like, so he's gotten to the old stage of life, which we all sound, would you like a butterscotch?
Like
you sound older.
He's closer to the professor than he is to Fry.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yes.
And it's you can tell, like even the Fry at that point was sounding much like the professor when the professor was even talking just to the crew. Professor was spot on. Zoidberg was even pretty good still.
Yes.
There was issues sometimes, but most of the time he was fine. Brannigan and Zoidberg kind of mix sometimes. Fry and Brannigan kind of mix sometimes.
They do, yeah.
The professor was always pretty good, and I think that's because of the age. The professor's old. He sounds old. That's fine. But in terms of changing the voices and everything, yeah, you can really tell with the one Amigo because, yes, they did get a lot of Latin American or Hispanic actors to play these characters. And nothing against Danny Trejo or any of those actors because they were funny for the time that they were there, and it was nice to see that kind of thing with Bender. But the overall issue I had is that it had nothing to do with anything. Again,
no, nothing. They had five voice actors: Danny Trejo, Carlos something, Gabriel Romero, Diana something, and Renee Victor. So they actually had Latino people playing Latino characters, which is
family.
It's good for you, but I feel like you're trying to make up for something that doesn't need to be made up for.
And honestly, how do we get away with this? Is like, okay, well, Bender was built in Mexico, but he's a robot. He's made of American parts. Okay,
there we go. Boom.
And then now he lives in New York City, so this is why he has an accent that is like. Who cares? It's
a robot. It's a robot. They're not defined as a race. They're robots.
Yeah, it's same with Earl. Like, who cares? This is anyway. Yes.
So that's our biggest grievances with
that was an issue with that, and that happened throughout the whole season. But
a little bit, yes, yeah.
But this was like the beginning of this because we talked about it a few times. But any case. One Amigo was fine. It was a fine opener. It was basically the same as the Impossible Stream in terms of quality, I would say.
It wasn't a terrible reimagining or whatever. Like new season wasn't a terrible first episode for the season, but it wasn't like, oh hey, we're back, guys. It's more like
here's a staple. We waited a year for this. No.
Yeah. You know that sandwich that you really, really wanted? Yeah. Well, here's a Lunchable that's been out in the sun for a few days, and you're very, very hungry. Also, here's a half drinking Sunkist drink. It's not the good flavor one. It's the one that no one likes. Here you go. Oh yeah, it's also lukewarm.
and next week we're gonna give you another good treat, and it's like
Dunkaroos. I love Dunkaroos. Oh, I just had one last week. Here is your what's your least favorite like chocolate bar? Licorice. Here's your licorice.
Actually, I was gonna say I'm not a big fan of Dunkaroos anymore, but I would say
you haven't. So Dunkaroos are still kick ass. I don't care what you
anymore,
say.
So that's fine.
No, we're
glad that you
can. Now.
So let's say Dunkaroos that were promised for Mitchell, but they were mistakenly given to Anthony, is what Quid's game is. And this is unfortunate. So we'll move on to the Quids game. Planet Express crew, they celebrate Fry's birthday, but it turns out that Fry doesn't like his birthday. We've never had this conversation, but whatever. And then they get abducted by aliens, which bring them to this planet, and they play a Quids game, hence the name of the title, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, check out our review for the full thing, but like the overall thing of this is that it was just a letdown and depressing. It's depressing. Like it was.
Honestly, this is my least favorite one of the season. There might be one that I can't remember. There's one that I said it was awful, but this one is also really, really up there for least favorite of all time. Yeah. Because the whole concept was that Fry was to relive one of his worst days ever. But we also see the point of view from his parents, where they're like, "We're going to give our son the best birthday ever."
Birthday party,
and there's just no connection.
And we're just going to help him win everything. Because,
there's no resolution where his parents go, "Hey, we got you to win everything because we love you." Oh, you guys did that? Awesome, thank you. But I lost my friends because of it. Well, we'll fix that for you. There was nothing in that matter whatsoever. And this one really pissed me off because of just how it ended. Like Fry was sad, but his mom was like, "I'm a good mom." It's like she was, but.
She sees him from the back, and he's like crying as all of his friends angrily leave his birthday party, and she smiles because she's like, "Oh, he's so happy," and like it's Like if 2 seconds to go and talk to your son, I don't know. It seems like it was. And you know what? So I call these episodes like the Fry episodes, right? The Fry family episodes.
Yes, he was the main.
These episodes are normally like really heartfelt and really well made. Like even in the Comedy Central run, like when we got to learn more about his mom, learn more about his dad, like the relationship.
That one was so good.
They're so good. And
they weren't as good as, which we've now said is not canon, the dog episode, the Jurassic Park. Yeah.
Well, I would say his brothers is actually probably sadder than Seymour's is, but even Seymour, obviously the dog is always sad, but like his brother's one with his nephew, like that one's beautiful.
Luck of the
such
Fryrish,
a well-made episode. The Luck of the Fryrish.
I do like that one because that one was more of a Fry feeling. Oh, my brother loved me. It wasn't like the brother missed him. It was a little bit of that, but it was Fry being mad at his brother because his brother and him were kind of always at each other's throat.
Yeah, exactly.
But then he realized how much his brother loved him.
Exactly. And
that great episode.
Was something, yeah.
And there was resolve. He was mad the entire episode until he realized, oh hey, what's on the tombstone? Named after his uncle.
Yep.
Boom.
Yeah, and then like the don't you forget about me, like as it pulls out, and he like.
Well, that was because of the Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast Club thing, and he purposely puts the 7-leaf clover, like he could get all that luck back, and he purposely puts it back with his nephew to honor his uncle's memory, like or his brother's memory, like it's such a beautiful episode. This episode is like the opposite.
It tried so hard to be this. It tried so hard to be this because it tried to be heartfelt, which
it's sad in the wrong way.
There was there, but there was no connection to Fry realizing it.
Yeah.
So it just failed so hard. And the saddest thing is, this came out on my birthday. I was so mad. This was not a good birthday present.
It's sad as well because it doesn't have any because like you said, like with his parents, because they had that little conversation that we got the flashback for. But then at the end of the episode, we don't get Fry's reconciliation with his parents. He reconciles with the group, like with his current family, saying like, okay, I don't have to be sad on my birthday anymore because now I have you guys. I have friends now, which is fine. But it doesn't reconcile like the whole thing that he did, because he already had that whole thing with his mom and his dad. Like he should have been over this whole thing with his parents and his family a long time ago. But
it could have been more of a teenager thing rather than a younger thing, because again, like Fry was kind of, before he left, that's when his mom and him kind of had a thing, right? When he went back in time in her dreams, he was about the same age.
The Game of Tones. Yeah,
and his father and him. That roughly would have been after Cold this Warriors. Because this was back when him and Geji were friends, which, hey, Geji came back. Right. I did like that. So this would have been after they kind of became enemies. But here, I wish I thought of this when we were saying like what we would have changed, right? Yeah. So the whole thing is, how do these aliens know, right, that this is what's going on, right? They could have showed Fry the whole play-by-play of his parents too, and he could have realized step by step, my parents did this for me. Oh, my parents did this for me. It wasn't that I'm a cheater, which was the whole thing, which they also kind of fumbled on.
Oh yeah, it's like I've never cheated once in my life. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure
you have lots of times, yes.
Yeah, like,
especially the one episode that we did the review on with when he went to Los Angeles or whatever, California instead. He cheated in that death ball skateboard game. Oh, let me help you. The guy
kind of tricked him. Yeah, that's right. He took it away. Yeah,
so
that's true.
We've already established that he does.
He's not above sleight of hand and like doing certain things to like get his way, right? Like it's Fry. Like this is he seems so sad. He's like, oh yeah, I can't.
I'm not a cheater.
I can't cheat. I'm not a cheater. Don't call me a cheater. It's like, bro, dude, you're like 40 years old, like
47 or something like that. Yeah,
like get over it. But I'm sorry, continue. Yeah.
But again, like if the aliens showed like, well, this is what we learned this from this, watching this, and Fry could have been paying attention to his parents rather than the game or whatever, right? And that would have showed more connection in there, and there would be some resolution saying like, my parents thought they were helping me, they'd love me and stuff like that. But again, we've already established that with the past thing with his father and the past thing with the dreams with his mom.
Yeah, with his mom. Yeah.
So
exactly.
They should have done something else with this, like a grandparent or something like that, just to kind of add something to it.
I mean, if you really wanted to make it about Fry not having friends or having like an issue with his friends when he was a kid, I mean,
or introduce a new character of him having a friend when he was a teenager, right? Because we don't know anything really between the childhood and to him leaving.
Yeah,
right?
And well, even using that Geji character, you could have done this, right? Yeah, like you could have seen, you could have been shown why did Geji and Fry have this animosity during Cold Warriors, and that would have had that little continuity.
They did show
that,
right? But this is how it started, right?
Yeah, that would have been that should have been the focus, right? Like that was his best friend. How did they fall apart? But then it wasn't about Fry and Bender having that issue. It kind of was near the end, but then they fumbled that because he chose Lilo. I don't know. It was such a mess of an episode, and again, not anything to do with any kind of ending, and it just leaves like that. So anyway,
that was the first bad one of the season.
Of this,
the one Amigo was like something they could have ended it.
They could have done better.
It wasn't terrible. This one was the worst.
Better.
This is by far like, wow, they're gonna end it on that note. Okay.
Yep, that's how they did that, and yeah.
What is it? One just happens. 2 is a coincidence. 3 is a pattern.
But then here we go, Mitchell, right? So we go into the Temp, episode 3 of the season. Of course, this is the one where Fry's part of the episode, but he's kind of missing. And the audience watches that there's a Temp in place of Fry. And then we watch and see that as this Temp took over for him back during the what was it, Amazon Woman in the Mood episode, like right after that episode takes place, because Fry goes on a vacation to kind of like give himself some time to recuperate, but he ends up going back to that planet. Doesn't matter. Anyway, they hired a Temp. They hired a Temp to take his place for 2 weeks, and the Temp liked working there so much that he wanted to stay, and then they accidentally left him there for like 20 years.
Something like that, yeah.
Like on some other planet. Anyways, this episode was actually very funny. It was referenced by like probably very, very similar to Comedy Central run Futurama. Like had a lot of those kinds of jokes, and it was very, very. It was structured very well. The villain at the end, so to speak, like how to do it, it doesn't leave it as ambiguous. It's kind of ambiguous at the end because he's still there. He's like just left on the planet again.
They forgot about him. I was like, why did we crash on this planet?
That's right. And that was actually so funny how that happened, because they had this whole like elaborate scheme to like take him down, and then as soon as he was out of sight, they forgot. And they took off. Like, it's so funny. But any case, it did kind of like
abruptly ended. Not that it was bad by any means, because it kind of worked with the like, oh yeah, we forgot about that guy. Yeah, it worked with
the reason of it. Like Bender pops his head. He's like, why did I need this chili powder again? Like, it's so funny. And then they're like, why are we sideways? Like, oh, ships just do that, and then they just take off.
Ships just do that. I don't know.
So this was good, and this one was actually written by like a fairly well-known writer. Was David A. Goodman. Yeah. And that was good, because he's been around for a while with these episodes. So this episode was probably the best of the Hulu's revival so far, and that's been really nice.
He's only written 3 episodes, including this one. The Where No Fans Have Gone Before, which I think you
also
and I say
is
a really good one, and then the Star Trek one. Only one I think you and I agree with that was a positive of last season's was related to items you viewed, the Amazon one.
That one's one of the better ones. I don't like the ending, but I do like the episode overall. Yeah,
he's done some stuff for Family Guy, and he's done some stuff for Golden Girls. Yeah. He was a story editor for that. So he's been around, but maybe more kind of like in a different position rather than writing.
Sure, not a writer. Guess. Yeah. So he's probably an executive producer or something, and that's fine. So he's overseen. The point is, he's been around since even the early days of Where No Fan Has Gone Before, right? Yes. And again, Mitchell, here's another thing you can say, like, oh yeah, Anthony, what's the episode of No Fan Has Gone Before? I'm like, oh, I know exactly what episode that is. I know exactly what episode that is. Yeah. Star Trek episode, and it's the one where with what's his name? Yeah,
Melfazar or Melzar?
Melzar or something. Yeah, because what's
something
his face?
That. It's an alien.
What's his name?
Please, I've been to many expos before. I think I know how to spell.
I know how to spell. Melvar, I think it is. Like it's with like 3 R's or something. I know how to spell Melvar.
It's a good.
What's his? Oh, Takei. There we go. Thank you, Takei. There we go.
George Takei. Yeah.
George Takei. So what George Takei does? Oh, I love that episode. And he's like, you do a karate chop. He's like, what makes you think I know how to do karate? Oh man,
we never talk about yourself.
You never talk about yourself.
Oh, right. I love that. Like, I'll throw my shoe to him. My foot's cold.
It's cold. He's like, I'll pick it. Any case, very, very funny episode. But yes, Temp was one of the higher ones as well for that. I think we solidly gave it like a 7.5 out of 10 or something. Yeah,
I think we gave it a 7, 6.5, 7.
Maybe
but
7. Yeah,
we just said like 7 quotes from that one where the
other one. Yeah,
that one came out in 2002, so that's 22 years old. Mind you, we were older when we watched it, but we've watched it multiple times since. But can you do a quote from the current episode, The Temp?
Except for the one when Bender walks into the ship and he says like, "Why did I need this chili powder again?" Like that one. Actually, it's a couple of them from Bender, because he also says, like, who the hell was that, when the temp like walks into the room and he walks out, even though he's like, I'm the temp, I've been working here for like 2 weeks, and everybody keeps forgetting his name. And you know what? I actually forgot his name. What's the temp's name again?
It's like, shoot. I don't even know.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm looking at the page right now, and I know David Herman plays him, but it just says he's playing Scruffy in this episode, which is like, I don't know.
I don't remember either. You know what? It's not a big deal. It's just, Frank. Anyway, it's Frank is forgotten.
Yeah, that's a quote right there. It's Frank. Yeah. That's the quote. We couldn't say it. It's not like we hated this episode by any means. We're so nonplussed by these episodes. They're just not stuck in our mind. Mind you, they've only been out for a month or bit, so it's not like they've been.
And we haven't watched them as much, right? Yeah.
But I could also say the same thing. I'm pretty sure you and I could not do more than a quote or two from last season's either. So.
No, and I'd also say, like, from last season, there's a few more of last season that I also just didn't like, so I kind of remember that was a little bit better because of it. But yes, that's true. I can't really quote last season as much. But yes, why don't we move on then to 4? So we have.
Well, we both agree that we liked the temp. That's probably the best one. The ending was solid, even though it was kind of quick.
It's a little ambiguous still, but it works for the episode. Yeah, it's one of the first times that it worked for the episode, because it was like, so it kind of ruins although the ending is still left open, at least it has a reason for it. So it kind of ruins the pattern.
Yeah.
But then we move on to Beauty and the Bug. And this one, if there was ever an episode to forget, it's this one.
You really didn't like this one. I was kind of like, I'll watch it.
It's just boring. It's just.
Plus Leo Wong, wasn't it?
Right. I mean, well, Leo Wong, the whole voice thing with Leo Wong was from last season. That it is what it is now, right? It's going to be that actor, of course. Yeah. The first episode, the Impossible Stream and everything, or the next episode. With Children of the Lesser Bog, right?
Right.
But yeah, no, this episode, like, Bender becomes a matador and he's in the bug fighting. I like the Bugalo, like, bulls. I thought that's a cool design. I like the whole idea with this, but I didn't get the whole thing, like the whole thing of that Spanish town kind of coming onto Mars. We've never really seen anything like this before, and I guess that's fine because Mars is a planet. But it's so strange to kind of introduce that now.
From context, or not from context, but just from previous things that we've seen. There's either casinos or kind of ranchery, like the Bugalo Ranch or native stuff.
The native stuff, because
there was no
Martians.
Spanish stuff at all. There was no Alamo.
It's such a strange mixture of, like, cultural things that they've tried to use, and they've also made the native Martians to be like the ancient Martians, like the ancient Mayans in that one episode as well during the Comedy Central run as well.
Yeah, so, like, no, it's not Mayans. There's chili in there. Sorry, I was watching porn while eating chili. Scruffy. Right. And then they rub it off and it says Martians.
Martian, right? And that's clever as well, because Mayan and okay, cool. But I mean, that was in that episode. And so there's like a few different cultures or whatever, but it's mostly supposed to be, ranching, the casino, because they also it's like Las Vegas. What's that?
Which is also very native, because the natives took it back
last season, they took over there too. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And then the Wongs own most of is it Mars Vegas? It's called Mars Vegas, right?
Yeah.
That's into the Wild Green Yonder. We learn about, like, all these kinds of things, and he's doing, like, the large gulf and everything. Anyways, point is, there's a lot of this stuff. So having this Mexican or the Spanish town is not that crazy, but it's kind of strange just to see the male Bugalo randomly now introduced and years later. But
yes, and we have also established that it's either Martians, which had a way with the Bugalo when we see the first time we see them, they fly on them and stuff like that. I didn't know Bugalo fly. Yes, we know the way, or whatever it is, right? Terrible accent. And so it should be more with Martians, like. But is that too close to Native Americans, and that could be considered spicy in the wrong way?
I guess, but then right, and
then why make it Spanish? Why make it Hispanic then? Why
make it Hispanic? And they're also talking about how this is like an ancient tradition as well that's been going on for years and years and years, and like, okay, because they've had like multiple people be the matador that's done this and the running with the Bugalo. I don't know. It felt like such a weird and forced episode for some things. It wasn't my thing. I know some people would probably enjoy it. I think it's forgettable.
How did this episode end?
Bender gets beat up by all of the women because he's two-timing them. That's literally how it is. But I only remembered that because after you and I did the review, I forgot to mention that because I forgot. So I was like, how does this actually end? And I found it, and I was like, oh right, I forgot to mention that. But my bad. Yeah, he's two-timing all these women, and so they come down there after he's said like, I'm not going to fight the Buggalo anymore. But then the Buggalo, oh yeah, right, and then the Buggalo show up and they have like a hive mind, and they're all like, oh yeah, like we don't mind being killed by you because we like to kill you guys too. Like, what is the point of this episode?
It became so random at the end there. Yeah.
So that was beauty.
Okay, what else happened in this episode? Like, there was the running of the Buggalos at the beginning, and then Bender becomes a matador.
Okay.
Was there anything else?
Not really. The only other thing I remember being so Amy was like the central other side of this. That's why Amy was kind of part of it, right? Because she has Bessie, her Buggalo, who's a female,
which has been there since season
3? Whatever episode it was, right? When we're introduced to them, and she stands up against the Buggalo fighting. She doesn't like it, and obviously her parents are fine with it because it makes them money or whatever. But then she comments to Leela to get involved with it because Leela's been known to like care about animals and care about like activist things.
Of that, yeah.
And she's like, you know what, we're gonna make this your problem. And I was like, that is so strange. What a weird thing for this character to say. It's such a strange thing. Just because they wanted the joke of her eating the Buggalo all the time. I don't know.
Right.
That was really weird. So honestly, the B plot of it was just, there's not much else. Like, it was literally Bender's becoming the matador and Amy was against it, and then that's it.
Very weird. Yeah. That should have been Leela should have been against it, even though it's so delicious. Like the pop of the so delicious, but
she was totally She was totally against it.
Yeah. Once they learned they were people, which is a hive mind of people or person or something like that. But I just looked it up. Where the Bungalow Roam came out in 2002. But because Wikipedia is going by the volumes and not the actual seasons, at least for the thing, it says it's part of season 3, which I know it's not because we haven't done that review yet. We just finished season 3 before.
We finished season 3. You're right. So it should be in season 4 for us. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
So we haven't done it yet. So that's the first time we see them. So it's been 22 years since we've seen them, basically.
Right.
Yeah,
no, that's fair.
You know what? I'm going to label this, the Mitchell label for the episode, as the most forgettable, because you and I forgot how it ended. We forgot how it began.
I said that. This is the most forgettable episode. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yep. Yep. All right, let's move on to number 5 then. So one is silicon, the other gold. And if you have not seen our reviews, and if you have not seen these episodes, but you're a fan of Futurama for whatever reason from the past, this is not to do with anything to do with the Parabox episode, which I think was the biggest disappointment for us. But we do not hold that account. We do not hold that against the episode in itself.
I do.
It does kind of lead you to believe that, and it's kind of annoying, but it is technically, the line is actually one is silver, the other is gold, which we also talked about during that review.
But why use that? Why use that saying then?
So because silicon is a computer, so the whole episode,
is part, but then Leela why use the other gold?
Because that's the phrase. One is silver, the other gold. That's an actual phrase, and silicon is just like what the computer is made of, because it's a computer friend, and the other friend is gold because they're the heart of whatever. That's why it's part of the saying. I know it's a lead into that because it's referencing the episode that we were talking about, but now it's actually not anything to do with that. It's annoying, I know. But overall with the episode, we have Leela, who has befriended a chatbot thing. It's an AI thing.
Oh right, okay. I couldn't remember this episode either.
This one's a bit forgettable, and I will say as well, so I thought this episode was I liked this episode, but not because of the main plot. I remember saying that in the review. I loved that too, yeah. I actually loved the B plot. I loved the guys all doing, because the whole point of it was that Leela doesn't have friends. Another thing with like people missing friends, I wonder if this is like a hint towards something. But in any case, Leela doesn't have any friends. Or not enough friends, so she gets introduced to like people that she already knows, but it turns out they're having like a book club, quote unquote book club, and a woman's book club typically might have wine, and it turns out that none of them like to read, so they end up going to like becoming a wine club, and they go to like this winery that is run by the hedonism bot, which is nice to see him again.
Yes, and very nice to see him.
They do this whole thing about like their friends and all this stuff, and we get one like red shirt type of new friend because we've never seen this character before, but it turns out this character is a robot run by the AI chatbot. And anyway, it's this whole thing. But the other side of this is that the men are like, oh, we're just gonna have our own book club, and like Bender does his famous line with blackjack and hookers, but obviously just the reference to that. But it turns out they actually love it. They love having a book club, and they're going to different places. They do different books. They're like actually having meaningful conversations. Like, it's so funny. And it doesn't really go anywhere. But yeah, I thought that part was funny. The rest of the episode I thought was pretty boring. There's a couple of lines that are kind of make me chuckle, but yeah, that's about it.
No, there's always some good jokes in there. Generally, we go like, yeah, it had some good jokes or something like that. But sometimes Futurama is not about the jokes; it's about the story at this point, and they have dropped the ball.
Yeah,
all of them so far, except for the 10th.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Bug ended with them all being surrounded by the Bugalo, and then they were about to get attacked, and then it went to black. I just quickly scrolled through it. That's what it was.
Well, almost. The Bugalo come in. They say, no, we don't want you to stop because we like attacking you too. Everyone's like, okay, we're not going to stop Bugalo, yay! And then the Matador comes, and then Bender admits to cheating on her with a bunch of these other women, and then she beats the shit out of him.
They still get attacked by the Bugalo, and then it kind of just ends there.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And then what was the ending for this one? It was basically her finding out that the AI chatbot actually created the robot friend who died, but didn't because she's a robot.
She's a robot.
And then they got mad at her.
They just beat her up. Yeah.
They beat her up
and break her and destroy her. Yeah. Yeah.
So there was no remember, people, don't be friends with AIs. It's not good for you.
It's nothing like that. No, I think we mentioned in our what we would change part of our reviews during that time. I think you and I had mentioned maybe they could have fast forwarded it to the point where they found out that she was the chatbot robot or something, like Chelsea's thing, and then maybe Leela and that group as their book club group could have gone in instead of going to a winery. They could have tried to sneak into where this chatbot was created and then tried to destroy it at the source, and then had more of a resolution of that. But And then you could still have the guys doing, their weekly book club kind of thing as a side thing. Where are the women tonight? Oh, I think they're hanging out at, I don't know, I want to say the winery or something. Who cares? It's hey, we want to talk about the book. Shut up and stuff like that. But they don't. So I think that was the only major thing I would have changed is have more of a resolution for that. That one felt kind of rushed, honestly.
Oh, I forgot to mention, not this episode, but Beauty and the Bug. Cara Delevingne played an owl.
Right. Well, okay, I'm glad you mentioned that because now we're going to move on to episode 6, Attack of the Clothes, the fashion episode. And
see how this just naturally rolls? We're so good at podcasts, guys. Yeah, you the listeners, we the talkers.
Yeah.
Oh,
well done, Mitchell, for bringing up Cara Delevingne as well. So yeah, so as she played an owl in the previous episode, the previous 2 episodes, this one she's actually herself, because they needed a model actress, and she's her head or something. This episode, it is okay. I mean, it's about the professor being the professor and becoming a fashion icon rather than a scientist, because his dream was to become a fashion icon.
Yeah, I think the idea behind this episode is good. I don't think the execution is good, because the whole professor thing is oh, I'm a professor. Oh wait, I didn't want that. I wanted to be a designer. It feels like a very professor-y thing to say, and it's oh, I'm not very good at being a designer, so I know I'll be a professor. That's just.
So
I love it because it just sounds exactly like him, because he's an idiot professor. My dad's favorite line of him is just, yes, honey, ordinary honey, this is no ordinary honey.
Yeah. Or 10,000 hulls of oil that will go here. It's oil, 10,000 hull.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it feels professory.
He's a senile mad scientist, right? That's supposed to be what he does, but his I don't know, his fashion designs are all based off of scientific things, right? But the fact that he says I've always wanted to be a designer, I don't know, it felt again, it came out of nowhere. Having Cara Delevingne in the episode was fine because she was actually kind of a main point of it, and there was actually quite a few lines and scenes and everything that were quite funny. This episode's not bad up until the end, and I'd say the ending is the worst, because it turns out that they've been sending these clothes because they were getting and the Marianne. Anyway, they were sending these clothes into a timeline that's in the future, and the clothes were coming to Earth, and they were going to basically destroy the civilization because that's where Cara Delevingne is left. And then it's who cares? Because the next episode, because I mentioned this to Mitchell in our review, if we didn't see the clothes flying down slowly in the background, then obviously it didn't matter. And it didn't matter.
Because the future was only a week or 2 ahead of it, right?
Something like that. Right? Or just it started at that point. I don't know how long it took for the civilization to collapse, but all these clothes were starting to come at the end of that episode. So that was it.
My biggest grievance is yes, the ending, the very like what could happen. Oh no, how are we gonna get? How are we gonna?
What are we
gonna
do
this?
for our children? And like because it's supposed to be this like climate thing. Yeah, it's a climate analogy.
I remember watching this and like 20 minutes in, I'm like, wait a minute, they just started asking about where did the clothes go and stuff like that, right? I'm like, how is this? And they didn't make it like a professor joke. Oh, it goes anywhere and wherever, it doesn't matter. Because the whole thing was, it's like, well, we need to figure this out, and they go and figure out like there's like 3 minutes left. How the hell are they gonna fix this?
And they resolve this? Yeah,
and it was. I think this is by far the worst open ending that the what was the one that we really hit? The Quiz Game was really bad just in terms of written. This one was just like, oh crap, we got 3 minutes left. Open ended. Yeah. Good job, guys.
This is earth shattering like continuity problems. Like they're like literally destroys the earth. And
I feel like this is like a what if episode. Like what if the professor was a designer?
Was a designer?
Yeah.
Right. Is like every episode of this show like just a different universe of the Futurama? Because
that's how I would love if that was the case. What if Leela got a friend?
Right.
Oh my god, we just solved it all.
Yep.
Literally the first episode of next season has to be, and that's 10 episodes or 20 episodes of what if machine episodes. That would fix so much of this.
If they had otherwise finished with like, and that was what if Hulu brought back Futurama, I'd be like,
boom. Well,
wow.
I would have one issue with that because there's one episode with some extensions that I think would be canon, which would be the one with Amy and her kids. That would be the only one that I think that would be actual canon of the what if stuff. Because let me see here. So the one Amigo, what if Bender found his old family, something like that, his roots? He's a Mexican, boom. What if Fry? I don't know what the quiz game would be like.
What quiz game either. What if Fry needed to relive his old childhood and deal with some trauma?
No,
what if Fry
had being like a cheater or something like that? What if Fry was never a cheater or something like that? I don't know.
Whatever, who cares? And then like the temp one, like what if the Planet Express crew hired a temp to replace Fry for a couple of weeks? Like
that one I don't mind being canon
either. Bender was a matador on Mars, like
that would make sense. That
would make sense. But it's just they're all. But even if that was true, these are all stupid ideas for the what if machine.
Yeah. But Anthony, as a robot, I've always felt excluded at nude beaches and massages. So I've always wondered, what if I was 500 feet tall? Right. They're stupid, but they're funny.
Sure. But at least it's something that you can kind of play with, I guess. But I don't know. These just all seem very strange. Any case, so yeah, Cara Delevingne is fine. This episode is fine. It's just as it says, I'm actually seeing this as well. It explores the themes of environmental responsibility and consequences of consumerism. That's fine. But of course, it means nothing. It means nothing to the Futurama show. You can skip it. Nothing really there. Number 7 is Planet Espresso.
Worst episode so far.
Probably, yeah, in this season. Planet Espresso is funny. I actually enjoyed this one. It's a little strange, and I'm a little confused by the coffee itself, just because of like it's so good it gives people like hallucinations, and they did miss a few opportunities with Fry and the coffee thing and all that stuff because he had that whole thing with his ability back in. But I mean, like that was the 100 cups of coffee. I think that was a gimmick for the episode. That's fine. But it was just kind of like he's the only one working because he's the only like a quote unquote delivery boy, so he's the only one that works. Everybody else is management. I thought it was kind of funny. But then like it's Hermes trying to do this, and he's trying to like reconcile with his dad and all this kind of stuff. Like it's a little heartfelt, and then it turns out like the major, because you and I disagreed, I think, a little bit on the theme of what this episode was trying to do, because you said it didn't really have a good ending. I thought the ending was better than it was for the previous 6 episodes, because the theme of it I thought was like about Hermes making the different decision than his dad did, and being with his son and his family.
There is
his
that,
dad.
They didn't really play it that hard though. Like it wasn't focused on that, or even secondly focused on it. It was just kind of mentioned a few times. Yeah,
it's just. I mean, like, yeah, they kind of played off at a few jokes as well, which is unfortunate because like Zoidberg snips his dad when he's having that heart to heart. It's unfortunate because that could have been like really, really good for it. You didn't really get to feel, like when his dad becomes the Bush, but then like when Dwight and Loretta come back, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm burning it. I'm not going to stick with this anymore." And then like, "Why, Dad?" And he's like, "Because I choose you," kind of thing. Like I thought that was nice. They could have done that more, but
they need to play on that more. Not just kind of like here's a bulletin point here, here's a bulletin point here, and then there's the resolution bulletin point.
That's right. And then having mom and her sons show up briefly, like literally 3 minutes before, like 4 minutes before the episode ends or something.
Yeah,
and then she like just sells.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, then she just sells it off to like what's his name? Randy and a bunch of those guys like really like the coffee, like the coffee, like that kind of. I was like, okay, whatever. So like it doesn't need any like it doesn't need any strong ending for that because like they were taking care of the farm now. Thematically it ended fine with Hermes choosing his son, so I thought it was fine. Overall, this episode I thought was good.
The weird like coffee aliens at the end there saying like we're gonna now attack planet Earth. It's like cool.
Right.
Another like
open. Yeah.
Will there be an episode about them attacking or no? Okay.
Just turns out they're the reason that the Starbucks logo looks like the way it does.
Because
that was
mermaids,
the joke there. Because they're like the weird mermaid thing and the two tails and everything. So
also, how hygienic is it to swim in coffee and drink that coffee? I don't think it's very hygienic.
For those guys, who knows? All right, let's move on here to number 8. So cuteness, and as I'm reading it, cuteness overlord. They changed it, yeah. LORD. They changed it back, which is hilarious. But as we were told beforehand, there was another translation or another, I don't know, word, overload, LOAD, which would have changed our predictions back in the day when we were doing them. But this one basically like a Beanie Baby thing.
Was it Overlord and then they changed it to Overload, or was it always Overload and we just read Overlord because we're like, oh, it's a lord?
Overlord changed to Overload, now changed back to Overlord.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I remember.
Because honestly, I feel like it's one of those Mandela situations. Is it Berenstain Bears or Berenstein Bears?
No, because this is also one of the ones. Remember the guy who had the predictions, and you had the little snippet of it that showed like the predictions of all the episodes that he had predicted, right? Yeah. On that card, it states Overlord. So that was beforehand. And then up until that point, you and I had read through these, and it had said Overlord because we were doing our predictions. And then when we had our commenter, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting your name at the moment, but we had our commenter
He's from England, right?
He was from England, and he had stated
Hello.
that they had Overload was like the name of it from what he could see. Oh. And then I looked into it, and he was right. And it turned out they had changed the name, but now it seems they've changed it back. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what happened here. But in any case,
I pulled up the picture on my phone here, and it does say Overlord, and I downloaded this. Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. Where's the details? Wrong button. April this year. So that was when they kind of first announced all the title names.
Yes,
at that time.
Exactly.
So
so that was the time.
Flip-flopped. Okay, good.
So that's the case. So in any case, with this
episode, let's talk about ours. Let's talk about our episode and how we
yeah.
So, all right, so
Nibbler shows up.
Space.
Nibbler shows up, and it turns out that he thinks that there's an evil Nibbler. Any case, the actual
come on.
Cuteness Overlord. One day we should do that, Mitchell. We'll just have you should make like a little title card and we're like, oh yeah, so this new episode of Futurama that just came out, we're going to talk about an episode that never existed.
We should do it
maybe April 1st.
I think an animatic. Yeah, let's do an animatic of it. It'll probably only be like 5 minutes because that's a lot of work to do.
That's a lot of work. Us. So this episode, obviously, not to do with anything with Nibbler or Amy per se. There's a little bit with Amy actually, and I was right, but not.
She's
Amy
the driving force behind the episode. I would
but
say,
it's a Beanie Baby. It's a Beanie Baby reference or whatever, and it was written by Kristen Gore.
Because that's a trademark name, I believe.
Yeah, it's like the fluffy toys or whatever they're called, right? The Beanie Buddies, or it doesn't matter, but it's written by or Bean Bags, right? It's written by Kristen Gore, who's Al Gore's daughter and everything, and so.
Boo. Go on.
I have no problem with Al Gore. He's hilarious. So
I like him with Futurama.
His politics are fine too. But in any case, he went through. We go through this, and it's a toy thing. Amy wants to collect them all, and then she doesn't like her kids hanging out with the orphans because Amy thinks that they're disgusting and everything. It's actually kind of, said a lot about Amy.
I forgot about that. Sally was in this, right?
But it's a really nice episode because
right, we had big issues with the. No, Sally.
Go ahead.
Was it Sally?
Sally is the girl, the three-year-old girl,
right?
and Mindy is her
daughter,
right? So Mindy and Sally become friends,
which
and
is
that's
great.
really sweet. And they're
like
playing
that.
they're playing with dolls and everything. They're
right?
having fun. Yeah. And then Amy has a bit of an issue, but then she gets this addiction to collecting all the bean bags. So then she drops her kids off at the orphanage a bunch of times, and they have fun and all that stuff
for like a month or something like that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Kif is away because he's dealing with something with happens to also be with the beanbags because they're actually a sentient race that has developed to be so cute. Again, I think this is a really cool sci-fi idea, is that they're so cute because nobody wants to hurt them, that they can just like sneak into people's lives and then just strangle them and kill them, eat them, whatever they do.
Because they just have so many.
They hug them or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. It's like a room full of the toys and you can't breathe because it's a room full of toys.
Well, they just I think they crush your neck because it's like they hug you so much.
I don't remember
something like this because I remember like Kif and Zap looking like they're like, oh, all of their necks have been like all their windpipes have all been crushed or something. So that's what I remember.
Yeah, and then it turns out the one ended for that, how they died, right? It's just that they got crushed, but like. Because I don't.
No, they all died because the head one who was like because it was another hive mind thing. The head one who had happened to be the most rare one got squeezed by Sally and Mindy hugging because of their friendship, and they blew him up. And he basically had like all these spores, but all these spores don't have the same intelligence as he, right?
Yeah, they spawned into more of the octopus. No, cuttlefish. It was cuttlefish.
The cuttlefish one, right?
They made more cuttlefish, which then made the cuttlefish not the rarest one.
But okay, so that's what you were saying something about like rarity had to do with that, and I was like, I don't think that's what it is whatsoever. It's just he was the rare one. Sorry, he was the leader, therefore he was the rare one because there can't be two of him. And then if they found him, then he would be like get his spawn, which are all the other beanbags to like crush the vocal cord, whatever. But then yes, he blows up because they hug him to death, and then he basically spores his
spawn system.
It's a very strange thing for it, but I honestly didn't mind the episode. I thought it was okay. I thought it could have been a little bit better in some regard, and obviously I loved our idea of the evil Niblonian taking over, played by Peter Cullen, but
yeah, Megatron versus Optimus Prime, but the opposites, roles switched kind of thing because voice actors. Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm just a little butthurt about this one because our idea was just so much better. And it was also just I did extremely like Sally getting a friend with Sally. Oh, sorry, Mindy getting a friend with Sally. I liked that because it was like, oh look, isn't that cute? And her daughter not being a spoiled brat like she is, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it was really nice.
That's a good message to send out as well.
Yeah.
And then
it
became
judge
this
people
whole
by what they look like and where they come from. It's a really good message, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't really go with that. They went with the whole other thing. And it was really nice to see Kif and Zap Brannigan, which we hadn't seen before in this season, right?
Yeah, for this season.
He was in Quid's game, I think, and had one or two lines, but that was it, right?
Yeah, and then they died right off the bat or something.
I do like the one thing which I think was in the trailer when the lady comes in a skin suit of the galaxy, and she is She's like, I've been to 2 out of those 3 places. Yeah.
This space, and this space, and this space, and he's like,
I'm like, I like that. That's
a really good joke.
And then Kif going, I need to get Amy one of those maps. Or something like that.
And he does.
There's good jokes here. There's good jokes. Like there's at least 2 jokes per episode. That was like, that's a good joke. I like that. Funny. This one I think had a few more than usual, but I don't know. I still think I'm quite buttered because our idea is just so much better.
It just made more. It worked more with the theme of like Futurama as a whole because we're using like real characters, original characters, and all this kind of stuff. But this one is. Yeah, just kind of new things. It is what it is. But as an episode that we don't have to think about like what ours could have been, as an episode itself, it's not bad. It's enjoyable. It's funny. No. There's a few little things here and there, but
not close to a fail. But it's again, I said our idea was just so much better.
Yeah, it's not stellar.
It didn't end on a high note, in my opinion, but just it's highly watchable. Highly watchable.
Yeah, you probably would not regret wasting your 24 minutes watching this episode. It'd probably be okay for you. You'd probably enjoy a few.
I'd regret about 5 minutes of it.
So we move on to 9 then. So the Futurama Mystery Library. This one, I mean, so this is obviously much better than the Prince and the Product, the previous 3-parter episode from the previous thing.
Yeah.
But this one's not it. So.
Out of the you and I had things that they did,
you and I had mixed.
Which one did you like the most?
Right. So we talked about this. So So I thoroughly enjoyed the animation and the design style of the second one, the Tintin. I thought that was great.
What was the first one?
That's when they go with the Nancy Drew, the black hole, with Leela being Lancy True or something, and then the Smarty Boys were Bender and Fry, and then the professor was like Oliver Sniffed or something because he has like the sniffoscope or whatever.
Funny, but that was really about it for that episode, for that segment.
That segment is whatever. I thought that segment there were funny segments in it, or there were funny parts in the segment. Like, right. And he's like, you could just call me your friend. You don't have to call me.
Right. There was that, which I found hilarious.
That's actually pretty funny.
And Tomboy Amy, you could just call me Amy.
Amy, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, she plays on the boys' baseball team. It's like, you could just call it the baseball team. It's like, but that's only because it's the baseball team, because you joined it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, I thought
things get labeled. It's for a reason.
Right. Yeah. It was just so fun. And then it turns out, like, Chud and Tomboy Amy, or whatever her name was, like Zoidberg and Amy's characters are like
bad guys.
The bad guys, and they push them in or let them go into the black hole. But anyways, I thought that episode was fine. There's some more. I thought there were some more funny bits in it. I laughed more out loud in that one, but I preferred the design of the second one, and the third one I thought was very, very basic, kind of boring. That one was Bender's Wikipedia Brown instead of Encyclopedia Brown, and then we get a small cameo of like Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it turns out Neil deGrasse Tyson can leave the planet, and he goes to LeVar Burton, who's the narrator over all these stories in space. His library is in space.
Yeah, that was weird.
Reading Rainbow reference, I guess, and then that was basically it. So I mean, was it a good 3-parter? No, not really.
No. Second worst one.
Second worst. Because product was really bad.
But
this one
really
is like
bad.
there's some comedic bits. I thought the second one, like I said, the design is great. I didn't like the story. I thought the story was dumb, especially by the end.
Again, it's another one of those timey-wimey things where you have to like really pay attention and also get it, because they've already established in the universe of what time travel is, and they've established it a couple times actually. Because there's one without the anti-paradox, and there's also the only travel forward. Does it become the new universe again? Does it not? Yes and no.
Is it cyclical?
And then what you did last Christmas was also very confusing.
Whatever the case. So yeah, what was your favorite one? The second one as well, I think.
Yeah,
right?
because like I knew Nancy Drew, and I think I watched a couple of the Hardy Boys or read them growing up, like very, very, very vaguely. I'm like, I remember either holding the book or opening and reading the book. I don't remember what happened in the book.
Sure.
And then the third one. What was the third one again with Bender?
Encyclopedia Brown, but it's Wikipedia Brown.
Yeah, never even.
No, I didn't read them either.
Memory whatsoever.
Yeah.
Didn't even know it was a thing, so I couldn't quite get it. So the whole thematic theme for this episode was like kind of detective-y in a way.
No, that's exactly what it was. The whole thing, the mystery library, is just about a bunch of storybook characters that were mysteries. Yeah,
it's right in the name.
So when we had made what's that?
It's right in the name, Mystery Library. I should have connected the dots.
That's okay.
I thought the library was the mystery. So
library, no. So when we did our predictions, I had thought maybe they would use the more adult related mystery characters or something, like Sherlock Holmes.
Who watch this?
Poirot.
The viewers who are like in their like late 20s to 40s.
People like Sherlock Holmes, and people like the new Agatha Christie books, like the movies, like Murder on the Nile, and Visitor in Venice, and all this stuff, like the Hercule Poirot movies with Kenneth Branagh. Like those movies have come out recently. Like there's some, and then they could have had a third one. They could have chosen the Hardy Boys. It doesn't matter.
It's either those two or the other ones. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like they have a ton that they can use, right? But I do like the Tintin stories as well, and like
they could have made fun of that. Who's that idiot that ruined Star Wars for that second movie? He did the Knives Out or Onion.
Rian Johnson. So you could have had like the Onion, the green onion or something.
They could have done the Five Knives or whatever and just made more fun of it.
Yeah, I suppose they could have, and then just made the professor the main character, or not the main character, but the guy who dies, or whatever, the guy who's murdered, or not the detective. He would have been played by. Who cares? Who cares? I hate that movie. But the point is, there's a lot of things they could have done with this episode, but they just didn't really. It's okay. There's some funny bits, but the first segment I would say is the funniest for me, just because I love that. You don't have to call me that. You can just call me friend.
That is hilarious.
Right. And then Tintin was good, and then
Love
Encyclopedia
the
Brown
style of it.
is
The character design was really good.
Yeah.
And then the Encyclopedia Brown, I didn't really care what the hell was going on. I was like, is this almost over? I want next week to happen so I can see otherwise.
Sure.
And be disappointed.
Right. And then it is what it is, and just disappears. So it actually has nothing to do. There was no overall arc in this episode either. So it is what it is.
Oh, yeah. Here's a quick question for you then for like the anthology. So how many anthology episodes are there?
We did this last time.
I know segment. Okay. Which particular segment is your favorite?
Oh Jesus! Out of all of them?
Yeah.
Oh come on.
I know that's a lot, but the thing is, it kind of works with the theme with this.
I mean, honestly, it's honestly hard to say. Like, honestly, design-wise, I'd say, you know what, the one with Tintin is actually like really, really up there. Like, I think it's really, really well done as like a style. In terms of like the actual episode,
I like the what if Bender was a human. I do like that.
Yeah,
one. That
I know you comment on that one quite a bit. I don't. I mean, I really enjoy the one where so when Nixon's doing the TV show one, like the
those
comedy,
ones were funny. Yeah.
Orphan Crippler. But the specific one, like not the He-Man, what's that called? The G.I. Joe one. I think the one you just referenced. That one's probably my favorite of that, and that one's really funny for me. But the whole episode itself is not all entirely funny.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you individually put these ones, your favorite one, obviously design wise, would be the Tintin one, which I think is these ones.
I wouldn't say it's like completely, because I also do like the with all the animation style one. Right?
Yes, that would work with really there, right?
Too. Yeah.
There was like the old Betty Boop style, the anime style, and then what was the other one?
64-bit or the 8-bit?
The 8-bit one, yeah. So this is the fourth time, to my memory and recollection of all the things, which it should be. This is the only other time where they've changed the design of the characters.
As far as I can remember, yeah.
And you would say that this one out of the four is your favorite then, design wise.
Out of the four that we just talked about?
Yeah. 8-bit, anime, old Fleischer style, I think that's what it's called.
The G.I. Joe one. Well, don't forget, because
I G.I. Joe, okay. Yeah, okay, so yeah.
Well, there's quite so that's what I mean. So what other one are you talking about then?
Oh my gosh, I think we had this problem last time I asked about this. I kind of mixed the TV one with the old style one, because there's the one with the diamond one, which is 3, right? That is the
the diamond one is the Betty Boop one. That's the diamond one that travels across all 3. That's the different animation one. Yep. And it finishes off with the anime one.
Okay, yes.
Because like the aliens come back and then they give them the diamond, whatever. And then there is the one with the TV show cartoon. I think it's a Saturday morning fun pit. I think is what it's called.
Which that was still very Futurama style, if I remember.
Was it Smurf?
Yeah, because Fry was the only one that was orange, right? And then there was the professor as Gorgamel or whatever from the
That's
Smurfs.
right.
I must get my hands on that purple berry.
That's right. And Zoidberg.
And then what was the one after that?
Yeah, right. And then the other one was like, yeah.
It's a fun question, isn't it? Both you and I are going, Saturday Morning Fun Pit. That's what it was called, right?
Yeah, Saturday Morning Fun Pit. And the first episode. Oh, Scooby-Doo. The Scooby-Doo, when they become the Scooby-Doo characters.
Okay, that was
also a different style, though, right?
But it was still Futurama-esque, but it was Scooby-Doo Futurama. It wasn't like the Smurf.
I think they looked Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. They were
character design.
They were Scooby-Doo style with Futurama involved. Style-wise, not story-wise. So I would call that different. So what's that? That's 6. Because I'm not the Smurf one was still very Futurama.
Still a style of Futurama, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So out of those 6, you will still say that the Tintin one.
The Tintin one was probably the best looking one. Maybe the G.I. Joe one. Just for like the design. The anime one was really good too, but
I did like that one.
And the 8-bit. I mean, the 8-bit you can't go wrong because it's literally 8-bit, but. Yes, I'd say all of them are really good, but I think the Tintin one is like, wow, that's like beautiful. That's beautifully done. Like I was really impressed by that. I
can't believe that you would say that to my face. Oh, I'm hurt. No, I really like the Betty Boop one, the Fleischer style one. That one's my favorite, just because that's where animations kind of started to grow was with that style. So I'm gonna stick with that one being my favorite.
Fair enough. Okay. All right, let's move on then to number 10. So otherwise, and you and I had no real negative feelings towards this episode. I think we stated that it's not as strong as some of the other finishing episodes. But it's not a bad episode by any means. It's a little confusing at times because we actually don't follow the Fry of like our main Futurama universe, because they're in a different timeline. But it finishes off with them because they end up blowing them up and kind of ruining the idea that like Fry and Leela finally got married, I guess, in the proper timeline. So now there's been two.
It's supposed to be like canon, right? It's like, oh, they got married. Oh wait, no, they didn't.
No, they didn't, because they blew up now. Then they're dead. But that's two timelines now, or at least two timelines, I guess, because they changed the time when they go back in time. So there's two timelines now where Fry and Leela have been married, and now they've erased the timeline.
Is that paradox?
And we're not including Lars either, because they kind of got rid of that.
They didn't get married.
But they didn't get married. He left.
He called it off. Yeah.
That's right. So anyway, two.
Oh right, yeah. I think my biggest question for this episode: what is the difference between an alternate reality and a parallel reality?
And I think it's whatever the writers want it to be.
And that's a very good question. Yeah. That's a very stupid way to answer that question, but that's right.
It's a very that was a better question, but you asked it in a really stupid way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I
think I was watching like a Dragon Ball or One Piece thing. Is like, why the power shift is whatever the writer wants it to be
at the time. So because they always have to up the ante, as they say, right? So yeah, this episode is fine. Like Fry finally decides to ask Leela to marry him because like, and the ship's gone now and all this kind of stuff. He had another
right
cool, and the cool new ship, like that was a really good highlight for this. But then they also have a lot of things I really liked about it, was that they have a lot of callbacks to Meanwhile, and they're kind of like following the steps to this, and they go to like the Vampire State Building, and then Fry starts having these. Yeah, Fry keeps having like this deja vu kind of stuff, and it turns out it's because he's remembering all these.
Right? Twice.
There's a couple times because he's sitting in the ship, and then it knocks him out the first time. That's the first time. That's the first time because he's in the ship
when he was on the Vampire State Building. Do you remember that? He almost fell to his death.
So that's after the ship is destroyed, because that's in the alternate timeline.
Oh right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. But there's only the twice though. Then.
Only the two times, I think. Yes. And then the other time we see like the universe is kind of mixing, is in the flashback when the professor's explaining how they reconstructed the ship, even though they said they couldn't fix it again. They reconstructed it in duct tape and all this other stuff, and wire, right? Because he brought back the wire from the very first episode, which is a hilarious callback.
Various
but then they fixed the ship.
Of wires.
Yeah. And then they were able to fly up, and then because they were a ghost ship, right? They were kind of phasing in and out of reality. It was also a little confusing at times. But in any case, they weren't able to be seen, and so the other two ships that they were attacking, which was the Nimbus and the new Planet Express ship, right? And they could only attack one. And then on the last one, because Zap Brannigan's the captain, so he married Leela and Fry, and then they blew up, and it turns out it was our main cast, our main timeline people who did it. I mean, it fades away with like the song or whatever, and it's led to believe they don't get back to
their own universe either. That was the other
thing. I think it's led to it's led to believe that they phased into their new universe. I think. I mean, honestly, even me reading this right now, I'm just looking at this synopsis of it. It doesn't even really say. It just says they were destroyed by a ghost ship, an alternate version of the Planet Express ship that had survived, and that's it. So it fades away. I think we're just left to believe like, okay, they went on their merry way, and then we will see them next season, completely normal, completely fine. Maybe a few new voice changes.
Again, this would be great if next season starts with him. That's the what if machine. Everyone's had a go twice here. Yeah. Oh, no one cares, Zoidberg kind of thing, right? Just
yeah.
It doesn't undo everything, but it does kind of. Oh, okay. So it was all just a joke. Okay, that's exactly what this season kind of was. Yes.
Maybe it's like we're gonna start again, and this time we're gonna do it right, or whatever.
You and I had some very good ideas for the story here, or something like that, to add it like that, because it was only Fry that was affected by this, right? And you and I will both like the Delta brainwave.
What we would have changed,
right?
We would have had it be Fry's actually falling through the different universes rather than following a different Fry in a different universe. We would have had our Fry go through the different universes, meet other versions of himself or other versions of the people he knew, and learn from that, and then kind of get back to his reality, and then. Like Leela, I want
Leela.
I want to be with you, Leela, because of like I've seen realities where I'm not with you or whatever, and I've seen with you,
and I was always unhappy or something like that. Yeah.
And you could have thrown in like the Golden Bender and like other things and like all this kind of stuff. You could have had fun with it, but
Yeah,
whatever.
It is. That could have been like the final one where he goes and it says, "Oh, hey, it's you again." Yeah, it's me. What's up, Fry? Oh, I'm good, kind of thing, and stuff like that. Then have a little like minute or two thing about how life was so awesome with Leela, and then they could have introduced Fry Jr. or whatever, and that could have been like the catalyst.
They did have. Yeah, that's right, because they did have a small scene of seeing a child of Fry and Leela's in another whatever
Fry's
universe
hair,
that was.
But Leela's color.
That's right, and two eyes. Right, so
two eyes.
And look at that, and then Bender also had Seymour, like the dog.
Yeah, that was weird.
So
but it was.
That was, I mean, like whatever. Maybe they brought the dog back. Maybe that was like the universe because they were going to bring him back, right? That episode, and it turned out that Seymour was already 13 years old, so that's why they didn't. Like Fry's like, oh, he already had a really good life. And then that's why it's sad, because it turns out he waited 13 years for him. But it turns out that's not true, because Fry was living there all this time.
Yes,
it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway.
You and I love that plot hole, because everyone's like, that's such a sad episode. And then we go, actually.
Well, you should watch the show.
yeah.
Continue watching.
Do you like the canon and the consistency and continuity of Futurama? Yes. Well, then don't be sad, because Fry went back in time. Anyways, it was there. So Seymour never had to
live with Seymour. Yeah, a version of Fry lives with Seymour, and it's actually Bender that makes him like that in the first place.
Yeah, Bender blows him up and immediately fossilizes him. Yeah. So he had a good life, and his death was quick and not sad.
Yeah, exactly. And it turns out the one person who didn't want him to come back was the person who did that in the first. Yeah. Isn't that funny how that works out, right? The irony. Yeah. But so overall, your last thoughts on the season
going through it again with you just makes me go like, some of these were very not worth it episodes, not unworthy, but just like, why'd you bother making this? Like, there's no point to this episode. And I'm pretty sure you can go back and say that to some of the stuff about the original stuff and stuff like that. What was the point of this episode? But
at least it was funny. And it was kind of like, it was working on itself. Middle, and end. Yeah, and it was also working on itself too, right? Like, it actually had like it was building up its fan base. Like,
exactly.
The Hulu revival is for the people, as you mentioned, is for the people who liked Futurama before it was canceled this third time. Like, this is clearly, hey guys, we brought Futurama back. Here's all the stuff you love about Futurama, plus some politics.
I feel like this is like the fourth child or something like that, living off of the great grandparents' name or something like that.
Like a nepo baby.
Kind of in a way. And everyone's like, oh, you could be as good as your great great grandfather, also known as the Fox Run. And then you kind of look like him, you kind of sound like him, but
you seem like the movies a little bit, and the humor is kind of like your father. Like the Comedy Central run, but
which is okay. He had a little misses, but you definitely should get off that mic and get out of here. Let's talk to your dad again. Yeah, where's your dad? Oh, he's dead. Oh.
How about your grandpa?
Oh, grandpa's dead. What about great grandpa? Oh, he died. Ooh.
Oh, he's gone. He's long gone. Because it's sad, really. Yeah.
So last season, how many episodes were kind of like, hey, remember from this season or whatever, we're going to build off of that, and they failed
How
terribly.
Many of them were like that? At least 3.
Okay, so there was
one of them was Children of Lesser Bog, and
which we both agreed was really good.
Yeah, Parasites Regained, which is probably the worst episode
one
of all
ever
time.
In existence.
I Know What You Did I Know What You Did Next Xmas is a reference to the previous Christmas episodes. It doesn't really play with them, but it does have references to them. So that's 3, I would say. Yeah. And then I think that's it. Yeah.
Zap Gets Canceled could have been. Don't
even get me started. Don't even get me started.
That was I think our second biggest. Like, you had so many opportunities to be awesome.
Such a missed opportunity. Yeah.
So there was 3 last season, and of the 3, 2 of them failed, so to speak. One failed. The other one was confusing.
The other one was nice, but it was like kind of like, okay. I see what you did,
they
but
should have
it could
played
have
off
been better.
The family bits rather than the timey-wimey stuff. Okay, sure. And then this season, how many were kind of like, hey, remember this old thing?
Nothing.
We're going to do that. I think there
nothing
was
except for otherwise. But other than that, was...
Okay, there's 2 then, in my opinion.
What was the
one is silicone and the other is gold. Just the title alone.
Oh, the title. But
think about it.
I can't count the title, because the title doesn't
I'm going to
reference it, but sure. But the actual element inside the season or inside the episode is not relevant to anything previously, right? I would say just otherwise. Well, so they did actually stand up on their own. What's that?
So nothing really kind of like played off of like, hey, remember this? Well, here's our version. Nothing really did like
not that I
otherwise
remember.
there's only one.
Otherwise does for sure, because it needed to have that finality kind of thing, right? I mean, there's a few. Okay, I mean, if you really want to, in the one is silicon, the other gold, there is also references that Bender uses, like the old catchphrase, like we'll make our own book club with hookers and whatever. That's just a line. But no, as far as I can tell. Oh, sorry. You know, there's one. The temp.
Yeah.
The temp, because Fry.
Oh, okay.
Back in the past, and he goes back because it's the snoo thing that's the reason they got the temp. Sorry, that does continue it. I'm sorry. So there is one this season.
I'm gonna give that one a pass because it wasn't like play on the words from like Amazon Regrets or Amazon Returns or something like that.
Sure,
it didn't play off of that kind of thing. It was just a storyline that happened after.
That's right.
It was completely differently seperated, right?
Yes. It only referenced that's when Fry left during that time period. That's why they had to get the temp, because he needed to recuperate, right? Yeah. Okay, but that's
it wasn't like the big brain is coming back again. It wasn't like I don't know, Seymour, not Seymour. What was the chimpanzee's name? The monkey's name?
Oh, Gunter.
It wasn't Gunter coming back with revenge or something like that. It didn't really involve much from the past other than like, oh yeah, Fry got his hips broken, so he needed a vacation. That was really about it. Right. So only one. Okay, so that's not bad then, because last season a lot of those things were like, hey, remember this? Well, here's the continuation of that, or an additional part of that. Oh, we dropped the ball. Well, that's because it's your fault, the viewer. No, this time it was just otherwise is a reference to Meanwhile, because Meanwhile technically never happened, but it did.
It did up until they went to the Vampire State Building, because that's when Fry broke the time thing, right? So you're right, yeah. But yeah, I still love that episode. But yeah, okay. Overall,
Meanwhile, I like Meanwhile too. Meanwhile was good.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd say then let's answer the question then. Did it get better this season? Yes,
slightly.
It did.
Slightly. Ever so slowly.
As we mentioned earlier, it did definitely get better, and we've talked about it. We definitely don't hold all these episodes in contempt. Quid's Game.
I do.
That's something else entirely. And then the other ones and all this kind of stuff, they're all fine for the most part. Temp is actually really brings it up. That's really nice. And yes, and the endings are not great, but overall the season is fine. And if this were to be the final season of Futurama, and this was and otherwise was going to be the finale, yeah, it would go down on a low note, unfortunately. That's just how it is.
That would be true. Thank God it got renewed. Who knows?
Did get renewed,
maybe
so we'll see.
They'll improve.
They'll learn from the mistakes. Yeah, exactly.
I doubt it, but it probably did happen that all these there's 20 episodes were all done at the same time. They're probably going to do the same thing for the next quote 2 seasons end quote.
Sure.
Because they're probably going to have 20 episodes. Yeah, do 10 and 10.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope they don't. I hope they do. Even the 13 and 13 is fine, but just why is it so hard to get 26 episodes or 24 episodes of TV nowadays? Why is it so hard?
Too much money, and not enough viewership, I guess. That's what I can think of. But
streaming has definitely ruined television.
Yeah. Honestly, just don't give me a season. 2. Give me a movie. Yeah, exactly. No, give me a Futurama movie. And honestly, if you'd be interested, Mitchell, I'd love to sit down with you sometime and we can pitch Futurama movie ideas. What would we want to do with something like this? Because I think there's a few different ideas we could do. Something with the thing with
give me 2 ideas. Give me 2 ideas.
Okay. The other thing that we mentioned, we can also do something with Morbo and his aliens finally attacking after all these years. You really like that one. Every time we bring up Morbo, you're like, I just think it'd just be such a funny thing to throw in there. Like, oh, that's the main thing is Morbo finally invades. Great. I love it. And maybe one other thing is maybe actually have that family thing with maybe Igner and the Professor do something that kind of aspires into an actual film. That would be nice, yeah. But that would just be those are the 3 things I just threw out there. But if you ever want to talk about it, we can do it on here. That'd be great. The other thing, the other thing that we thought might be for the otherwise. I mean, you could do a movie about that too, or about like their child, whatever. But
I like that idea. I like the idea that like she must be the other one, but it's actually their kid.
Right. It's like, oh, she must be the other, and then he could be talking about like maybe it looks like they have a son, but maybe they have a daughter who could be the other. She could be the other, but doesn't matter. Any case, if you ever want to talk about that, but until then. We will take yet another break before we're going to go right back to our our normal reviews.
Season
right?
4, right?
Reviews, season 4 with Roswell That Ends Well.
And not the stupid Wikipedia season 4, the actual season 4.
The season 4 that we had when we were watching it live. Yeah. But yes, that should be the case.
I think I've stated it even in this episode. Wikipedia does it by volumes up to the last few seasons, and even then that's still very weird. Like it says season 9, but other things say season 12. Ugh.
Yes, it's very confusing.
Yeah, we're doing season 4, not volume
as it was
4.
on TV. Exactly, as it was on TV. Just look at the date, the first one that came out there, which was Roswell That Ends Well. So we will start that in the next couple of weeks. And thanks again, Mitchell, for joining me. It was wonderful to talk with you about this again. I'm glad that the Hulu one is done. We'll talk about it in 2026 again when it comes out with its new season, if it does.
Hopefully. I don't know. I don't think they've been in production yet, to be honest. So
we'll see. I think they're aiming for. I think we were thinking it's going to aim for 2026 because that's how long it would probably take to get the full, like early 2026 maybe. But any case,
it's going to be weird the next year and a bit without Futurama. Yeah. Will they be good? Will they not be good? I don't know.
They're going to be good for us to do our reviews because we're going to go back and do all those ones again. So take it easy and have a good one.
And toodaloo.
Toodaloo.